That's what I am. It's like diamonds. They're beautiful. Beautiful.
The skin of a killer, Bill.
So, everyone is talking about Sinners right now, and I want my turn. Sinners is a movie written and directed by Ryan Coogler. You may know him as the guy who directed Creed, Black Panther, and a few other bangers. It's a pseudo-horror movie about vampires in the American South in 1932. But to be honest, all of that is kind of just set dressing. It's just an intoxicating blend of genres, a film that is as much of a melting pot as the culture and the heritage that it explores. Michael B. Jordan plays two characters in this movie, twin brothers, Smoke and Sack. They're returning home after 7 years in Chicago working for Al Capone, and now they've come back with their pockets lined with blood money to pour into their very own juke joint. Usually whenever an actor plays two different characters, it can be cool, but sometimes the performances suffer as a result. It almost feels kind of gimmicky, but that problem is just not present here. Michael B. Jordan is able to really distinguish between these two characters in his performance to the point where I almost forgot he was Michael B. Jordan and not just Michael A. and B. Jordan. And then you have the likes of Delroy Lindo, who is amazing, as always, and Haley Steinfeld to back him up. And woof. Pray for that boy Josh Allen.
It may not mean nothing to y'all, but understand nothing was done for me.
The fact of the matter is this movie blends so many genres together, and it's so well knit, it's actually incredible. It's a horror movie, it's a crime thriller, there's some coming of age, there's drama, romance, even a little bit of a musical. It really does feel like a stew with a bunch of spices and ingredients, and when it comes to a boil, similar to the movie From Dawn Till Dusk, in which the first half seems pretty unconcerned and unrelated to vampires, but then it just turns into a whole different film.
There's a bunch of fucking vampires out there trying to get in here and suck our fucking blood.
Sensational.
This movie is also shot really well. I could watch just 3 more hours of this. The aspect ratio changes were just so good. The cinematographer, by the way, was Autumn Arkapaw, and I think she deserves a lot more credit for her insane work here. She's also one of the far too few women behind and in charge of the camera. Genuinely just fantastic work. The soundtrack in itself is also just genuinely insane. Composed by Ludwig Göransson, by the way, and I think that his score should be praised just as much as Coogler's filmmaking. The music in itself feels almost like the main character. At the beginning, it's blues with acoustic instrumentals. But as the film evolves, so does the music, and that's really interesting to me. Towards the end of the film, all of the scores have these heavy metal motifs, almost, just kind of sprinkled in. And the best tracks are the ones that utilize both of these genres. It's very interesting. Sammy, the blues guitarist in the story, is also just a huge part of that. His playing isn't just a musical element, it's symbolic. It represents the deep history and the soul of black music. His character carries the weight of a cultural legacy that's constantly under threat, not just from vampires, but from erasure and exploitation. His scenes feel like the heartbeat of the whole movie, and you feel the stakes throughout his strings. Miles Caton, by the way, also just knocks it out of the park like Castellanos on a bad day.
Take a look at what happened.
It's Castellanos. Castellanos lifts that one to straightaway center field. Leday's going back to the wall. It's gone!
Sinners is essentially a post-slavery commentary on culture vulturing and community. It takes basically just the impossible task of coherently talking about the topics of black rights, religion, vampires, the music industry, and gangsters into one story. And as much as that sounds like kind of a clusterfuck, it actually works surprisingly well. I loved the jump scares in the film and the horror. I will say this spooked me a little bit, got me to jump out of my seat. Wasn't throwing my fucking popcorn at the walls or anything, but it was pretty effective. The scene where Cornbread asks to come into the barn is an excellent example of how to kind of throw the viewer off. It was very interesting. The gore, the costumes, the makeup, it was all spectacularly done, and it never felt overdone. And when it comes to performances too, Michael B. Jordan absolutely struck gold as Stack and Smoke. Probably his best performance I've seen out of him. The gangster trope, which isn't really in horror movies, was also very fitting for this, which was very odd. It just worked perfectly. I don't know what to say. The fact that we were able to get some gangster tropes and vampire tropes in the same film was just potent and just something I've missed in films, you know? I'd say everyone gives an insane performance. And I'd probably say that the best performance comes out of Miles Caton. And if you don't know who that is, that's because this is his first ever film. The score and the soundtrack is probably the best I've heard from a movie this year, and maybe even from last year too. I feel too like there's a lot of people that are misunderstanding the themes of this film, which is very weird because Coogler himself says that Remick, the antagonist of the film, predates any racial definitions and was designed as a character to think very little of them.
Irish, your vampires,
Yeah.
and going there musically. I wonder if you could talk about that and also some of the casting with that.
I'm obsessed with Irish folk music. My kids are obsessed with it. Look, my first name is Irish. I think it's not known how much how much crossover there is between, like, you know, African American culture and Irish culture, and how much that stuff's loved in our community. You know, it was very important that our vampire, you know, our master vampire of this movie was unique and as specific as the situation was. You know, it was important to me that he was old, but also that he came from a time that pre-existed these racial definitions, so that he would be extremely odd, you know, and it would all seem odd to him, but also that he would see it for what it was and offer a sweet deal, you know, if that makes sense, and that the music was just as beautiful.
He's not the white people from Get Out. He doesn't fetishize Sammy's blackness, and he's not just like a racist dude, you know? He values music beyond race. Coogler built a myth, not just a metaphor for white liberal exploitation or just, you know, racism. Feels like that would have been kind of the easy way to go, and I would have definitely criticized it if that was just the surface level message. But here's the thing, it feels like this film uses its messages in a multifaceted way. By displaying such a diverse range of characters who are navigating similar issues, the film underscores the importance of representation in storytelling. It advocates for nuanced portrayals instead of just tokenism. It feels like it's opening doors for better conversations within the film circles and the film industry regarding inclusivity. I would say Sinners is a bold departure from traditional narratives in the vampire area. 'Cause let's be real for a second.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Introducing an unconventional, to say the least, approach that resonates with contemporary audiences. This reinvention of the genre has definitely changed it forever and for the better. It's just so good, man, and I think that you are doing yourself a disservice by not seeing this in theaters. I think it's one of those films that we as a society will look back on and be like, yeah, the people who watched that in theater had a superior experience to those who just watched it at home. It genuinely feels like one of those cultural moments. It's not just a movie, it's a statement, and it's one of the best things I've seen in theaters in years, point blank period. It's messy, and it's just plain old fun. Sinners is a easy 10 out of 10.